Okay, let us proceed, guys. So we said that we'll start by checking whether we bought our asset. So during the year, you did not buy any equipment. Hence here, for additions, you have nothing. So during the year, you did not buy any equipment. Even in your station, even on that statement that we have just done, you clearly show that they did not indicate whether we bought equipment or not. So during the year, we did not buy an equipment. If ever you do not buy any equipment, it simply means that the depreciation for board will be zero. You did not buy any equipment during the year, meaning your depreciation for board will be zero. And then we go to the second thing. The second thing is what? Calculating your depreciation for sold. With regards to depreciation for sold, I think we have already calculated our depreciation for sold. With regards to sold, we said that remember that we're using the diminishing balance method, meaning a carrying value method. For sold, we did calculate it by saying we sold our asset in which it had a carrying value of 12,000 rand, and then multiplied it with our rate of 15 divided by 100, and lastly multiply by the months in which we used our asset for, in which it was 9 over 12. And then we got the depreciation as 1,350. This one we did calculate it here. We did calculate our depreciation for the sold asset. And lastly, what do you do? And lastly, you do your depreciation for what? All the remaining. All the remaining. Kind of what is in all the remaining? All the remaining, we say that this is the asset that stayed in our business for a period of 12 months. Period of 12 months. So let us check our cost price at the beginning of the year. For us to complete that one, we'll have to check our cost price at the beginning of the year. So at the beginning of the year, let us go to our fixed asset register. At the beginning of the year, for equipment with a cost price of 280,000, we'll write it here. 50,000 rand. But then remember, that is the cost price at the beginning of the year. And then remember that in your cost price at the beginning of the year, there is a cost price of that asset that you sold. In your cost price at the beginning of the year, there is a cost price of that asset that you sold. And then also that asset that you sold already have calculated is depreciation. But then now we're calculating the depreciation for all the remaining. At the commencement of our year, with a cost price of 280,000 rand, in which we know that in 280,000 rand, there is a cost price of that asset that you sold. So what are you going to do? You'll say cost price at the beginning, minus the cost price of the asset that you sold. Why are you minusing it? Because we're now just looking for the cost price of the asset in which stayed in your business for a period of 12 months. So let us check our cost price of that asset. Let us go to that statement that again. H day. So for your H, we are looking for the cost price of the asset that you sold. They say that take note the equipment with a cost price of 18,000 rand. So that cost price of 18,000, that cost price of the asset that you sold, it amounts to 18,000. So here you are going to minus 18,000. That is your cost price. And then minus your 18,000 there. And then when you say 280,000 minus 18,000, you'll get your cost price for all the remaining. So let us minus and tell me guys how much you get. It's probably 262. I don't know if I'm correct. Please confirm me guys. You all get the same value. Say 280,000 minus 18,000. If you haven't commented or said anything, do you get the same value or not? You can clearly indicate in the chat box. So we get 262, it's fine. Okay, thank you, sir. We get 262 there. Thank you, Chris. So we did minus our cost price of the asset that you sold, which was 18,000 there. And then we are left out with our old remaining. So remember, which method are we using? We are using the diminishing balance method. And then we know that according to a diminishing balance method, in order for us to calculate depreciation, we are supposed to use our carrying value. For you to get the carrying value, you say cost minus accumulated depreciation. Let us check our accumulated depreciation at the beginning of the year. So our accumulated depreciation at the beginning of the year amounted to 70,000. That is our accumulated depreciation at the beginning of the year. But then also in your accumulated depreciation at the beginning of the year, there is an accumulated depreciation of that asset that you sold. Remember that you sold it during the year. At the commencement of a year, you get it. So there is an accumulated depreciation at the beginning of the year for that asset that you sold. You minus its cost price on the cost price, right? Also here, when you're dealing with your AD, you'll have to minus its relevant accumulated depreciation. Why am I minusing it? Because I've disposed it. Now I'm looking for my old remaining, the asset that stayed in my business for 12 months. So you'll also here have to minus the accumulated depreciation at the beginning of the year for that asset that you sold. So let us check our accumulated depreciation at the beginning for our asset there, guys. Let us check our accumulated depreciation at the beginning for our asset. So for our asset there, for the asset that you sold, to be specific, uh, they said that it's never looking for the accumulated depreciation at the beginning of the. They said that depreciation must be written off on equipment at 15%, at 15% using the diminishing balance method. They gave us the cost price, which amounts to how much? Which amounts to 18,000. That is our cost price. And then they also provided us with our carrying value at the beginning of the year. Our carrying value at the beginning of the year, it amounts to 12,000 rand. They gave you a cost price and also they gave you a carrying value at the beginning of the year. The question that you're supposed to ask yourself is, how do you get a carrying value? How do you get a carrying value, guys? Anyone who wants to tell us how do we get our carrying value? You can tell us how do we get our carrying value? You can meet yourself there.
I think it's cost minus like accumulated depreciation.
That's correct. So our carrying value, for us to get our carrying value, we say cost minus accumulated depreciation. We say cost minus accumulated depreciation. That's how we get our carrying value. Meaning also for them to get that carrying value of 12,000 rand, For them to get the carrying value of 12,000 rand, they sold cost of 18,000 rand minus accumulated depreciation. And then that's how they got the carrying value at the beginning as 12,000. So for them to get the carrying value of 12,000 rand, they set their cost price, which amounts to 18 minus accumulated depreciation. And then that's how they got 12,000 rand. So how are we going to get our carrying value? Or is there anyone who has a clue on what will be our pardon me there, apologies. Is there anyone who has a clue on our on what will be our value for accumulated depreciation there? Or how will we get it? This one is it. Anybody who can tell us? Okay, so accumulated depreciation will be, we'll say 18,000, it will be 6,000 rand. Therefore, our accumulated depreciation at the beginning will be 6,000 rand. Our accumulated depreciation at the beginning will be 6,000 rand. So remember that this is the accumulated depreciation at the beginning of the year for what? For the asset that you sold. This is the accumulated depreciation at the beginning for the asset that you sold. Therefore, in your formula, you'll have to minus it here. We'll say 70,000 minus 6,000 rand. 70,000 minus 6,000. In which only say 70 minus 6,000, get how much? Get 64,000. And therefore, you have your cost price for all the remaining, and also you have your accumulated depreciation for all the remaining. Therefore, you can calculate your depreciation. How are you going to do that? Remember that you are using the carrying value method. So this is how you're going to do it. You say your cost price for all the remaining 260,000 rand minus what? Minus your accumulated depreciation in your brackets. Obviously, when you minus them, you get your carrying value. And then multiply it by what? Multiply by a rate of 15%. And lastly, multiply by 12 over 12. Why am I multiplying by 12 over 12? Because I use my asset for a year. I use my asset for a year. And then we'll get the depreciation for all the remaining there. So even when you insert it in your calculator, please include those brackets. Or you can simply start by calculating your brackets there. I'm using a phone to calculate here. Also 262 minus 64,000. And also multiply by 15% there, guys. I think I made an error. Multiply by 15%, not 40. And then we'll get your value as how much? I think we'll have to change our value there. Apologies, guys. It's not 14, it's 15. Yeah, if I will include 15, I think our value will change. And then again, apologies. We get 29,700. Then you have a depreciation. For you to get the aggregate depreciation that you'll record there, you see the one for bought, which is 0, plus the one for sold, 1,350. And lastly, the one for what? The one for all the remaining, meaning plus 29,700. And that's how you will get depreciation. So, as I've specified, and as I've said, this is what was emphasized on that video that was sent. last week. And then when we add all of them, how much do we get? The value that we get there when you add all of them, that will be your depreciation. When you add 3 of them, that will basically be your depreciation there. So with regards to everything that we did, is there anyone with a question that we have to attend? Or anyone who did not understand anything so that we can answer it or clarify on the thing that you did not actually understand. Okay, Vivi saying that she's perfectly fine. What about you, Chris?